Hi, I'm Tobiah Wilhelm. Welcome to the Wilhelm Scream. I'm going to be doing a review of all 5 Rambo movies. I'm going to be including my personal thoughts and opinions, and also why you should not only watch all 5 films, but how they may be the best 80s action films to ever been produced, or at least as a series that's still going to this day. Let's draw first blood. The Rambo series, making up of 5 films starring Sylvester Stallone, are personally fantastic. I find them to be super interesting, a really, really cool 80s action star that is a little bit atypical from what you would think of as a classic 80s hero. In the first film, you find John Rambo just returned from war. He's dealt with some horrible circumstances. You can see that he's still has the weight of that war weighing on him. And he's come back to the United States dealing with people hating Vietnam soldiers at the time. He actually describes being spat on and that kind of thing. He's just trying to find some of his old compatriots that he had fought in the war with, and finding a lot of them have passed on, be it through cancer, Agent Orange, or some even by their own hand. And so he's just making his way across the United States, hiking his way through. Doesn't look like the cleanest guy, and he tries going through a certain town in the Northwest and is stopped by a local sheriff, who then sees him as just another burnout flunky guy who's probably there to just try and peddle some drugs or what have you. But he extends his authority too far and tries to just take him through the entire town to drop him off on the other side and let him just mosey on out. But it starts to pour down rain. Rambo needs a place to stay and goes back into town against what the sheriff wishes. From there, it gets pretty interesting as he gets thrown into the squad car, taken into the police department, and is then kind of tortured. He's blasted with fire hoses and that kind of thing, and starts to be held against his will and isn't giving anything up to the police officers. He's pretty much dead silent through almost the entire beginning of the film. He starts getting some flashbacks, some PTSD, and reminds him of being tortured in Vietnam, and he clicks into his fighting instincts. He knocks out a couple of the police officers, throws a couple around, and then bolts out of the police station, grabbing only his trusty knife. He takes a motorcyclist off of his bike, throwing him onto the ground, and peels out and turns into an amazing chase where he ends up finding himself being pursued by some of the police officers, getting into the woods, and they end up even having a helicopter come out. One of the police officers makes it a little bit too personal and tries to shoot Rambo while he's just trying to flee. And Rambo, only armed with a rock in hand, throws it, hitting the helicopter, shaking the police officer free, who falls to his death. Rambo is then blamed for this death, and what continues on is a crazy cat and mouse game of Rambo doing all that he can to survive in the woods, creating traps, killing wild animals to survive, and even making his own makeshift weaponry as he goes through. The sheriff's department doesn't know what hit them, and thinking that he's just some guy, ends up being taken down almost completely. The interesting thing is, though, Rambo is doing pretty much everything non-lethally. He's not trying to kill anyone. He's just trying to stop them from hurting him. His commanding officer then arrives, getting the sheriffs up to date on what's actually happening. You find out that not only is this guy a ex special forces, but he was one of the best of the special forces. So It's kind of this large mixture of a story where no one is in the right. Everyone has been doing something stupid, be it how Rambo reacted to the police officers. He could have been more forthright with who he was, a little bit more about himself, and probably wouldn't have dealt with anything, but his pride gets in the way. The sheriff then sees this man who's just a threat to the peace of his town, and his pride gets in his way. And then finally, even having the commanding officer arrive explaining the situation, his pride is kind of getting in the way and butting heads with the sheriff as they're just trying to ultimately rescue John Rambo, or at least get the best circumstances possible out of this horrible situation that's become a giant manhunt against basically a one-man army. It's very interesting in how they don't portray the character as the classic hero. He's not the guy who's running around just taking everybody down and doesn't take no for an answer. Instead, he's not doing quips. He's not doing anything like that. He's not nailing somebody to the wall and telling them to stick around. Instead, he's kind of stoic. He's quiet, and what he does, he doesn't seem to particularly enjoy. It's just what he knows how to do. It's his muscle memory kicking in, the fight or flight situation, and you feel for the character. By the end of the first movie, he's pretty much obliterated almost the entire town, and taken on this entire army of police officers and everything, doing his best to not kill anyone. And ultimately, for the first time you'll probably see in a classic 80s action movie, he's weeping in the arms of his commanding officer because all he wants to do is just come home to the country that he's fought for, see the friends that he's had, and he just wishes he could have that moment of clarity, of compassion and companionship that he just can't seem to find. The film ends with him being arrested and being taken into police custody, but at least he's made a little bit of peace with the commanding officer that he has and with the world that he finds himself in now. All in all, I would highly recommend First Blood. Rambo is an amazing character, fantastic, interesting story, and well worth a watch. And if you can, definitely see if you can find it and at least give it a go. If you did enjoy this video, like and subscribe and comment. Let me know what you thought and what you think of Rambo. And keep an eye out for Rambo First Blood Part 2. Thanks.